Palofla here to leading our news bulletin tonight. A stern message from the Niuean Health Department today was issued in a hope that the public can understand the impact complacency and ignorance can affect communities and the island as a whole, with a substantial increase of numbers of patients infected with dengue since the outbreak a couple of months ago. Dr. Ivy Bulaka explained why every resident on the island should take notice of the current health concern.
Right now, we can confirm that we have up to 20 clinical cases that have been admitted. Most of them have been diagnosed having dengue fever using the diagnostic tests, but others have been admitted with the symptoms without the diagnostic tests. Now, we think that they also have dengue fever and they've been managed accordingly. So at the moment we have about 20 cases and 5 of them have been very severe. And that is another concern that we have. Initially when we diagnosed these dengue cases, they were mild. They can be treated at home. They had very few symptoms. But as this outbreak is continuing on, we notice that some of them can be very sick with it and have it for a prolonged period, that with Panadol or paracetamol, they don't recover quickly and have required admission because they needed more than just Panadol.
Now, it's been a couple of months since the first case was detected and admitted into the hospital. And it seems like if the numbers are increasing, are we not doing enough in regards to containing the fewer numbers that we had then?
Well, we can go by the numbers. The numbers can help us dictate what we need to be doing in the next few days. And I think it is important to point out that we are not on top of it. We are not controlling it by the numbers that we are seeing every day. We are seeing a lot more consultations per day. And while we are only able to admit 20, there are probably another 20 at large who have minimal symptoms, who keep coming day after day, and we keep advising the same thing, but they can manage themselves at home. So we are only able to admit the very sick ones. So right now we want to pass on the message to the public at large that while we do not want the people to be scared or to raise an alarm that is out of proportion to what we are facing nowadays, it is also important to say that what we're doing so far is not able to control the outbreak that we have. Just judging by the sheer numbers that we are seeing every day from the outpatients and the number of admissions. I think last night we maxed out the bed capacity of the hospital, and this morning we were almost forced to discharge some that could manage at home with a lot of advice and still daily monitoring of their blood tests so that we be sure that they do recover, but at the same time making some beds available for others that may really need admission.
Dr. Bulaka also said communities whose residents are diagnosed with symptoms must give support.
With the understanding that dengue is a self-limiting viral disease, we could hardly control its natural course. And some patients may have it in a mild version of it, and others may have it a severe version of it, and a gradual deterioration and a gradual recovery. It's very unpredictable. But the first thing to say is that dengue is a self-limiting disease. When you come to hospital, we're only supporting you. Supporting in the sense that we give you the fluid loss that dengue causes, and in severe cases dengue may cause bleeding in the gum, and you may have nosebleed. You may develop rash on the skin that just means bleeding from small vessels in the skin, which are all effects of the dengue virus. And all those cases need support in the hospital. But at the same time, we need to be prepared for prevention. It is still the most important part, preventing ourselves from the mosquitoes. Either we use repellents and mosquito coils at home to prevent ourselves from being bitten by mosquitoes, or the population at large to prevent breeding of these mosquitoes. It's called Aedes aegypti, and they hang around human dwellings. It's not a rural mosquito. It's more an urban mosquito, but of course it can still happen in a rural setup. But it is important that they hang around human dwelling. They love to stay in empty containers just around the houses.
She also said there is an unfortunate limited supply of resources the hospital can work with at present.
We would love to take care of everybody until you are fully well and then on your way home. But at the moment, according to the resources that we have, the bed capacity, the staff capacity, even the fluids that we need to give you, we're running out of. And having just one plane a week also makes things difficult, so that we can to make sure that we have adequate supplies all the time.
Another advice from the Public Health Office today to those who have suspected symptoms: please do not hesitate to contact the hospital. However, for those with mild symptoms but have been diagnosed, you must limit your movement to your residence for at least a week, and if you are unsure, you must also contact the health department. If any resident wishes to get rid of existing water in their water tanks, the department can also assist in this area with assistance from the water department, but you must contact the water division. A statement issued by Niue Chief Justice Patrick Savage in the recent sitting of the Niue Criminal Court has been challenged by one of the Common Role Members of Parliament, who is also a lawyer. Honourable Tongia Sianiholo submitted a motion into the House of Assembly recently on a censure of what Chief Justice Savage expressed during a sentencing of Laino Tahanga in the Niue Criminal Court. He said the Chief Justice does not have any authority to make such statements to the family of the accused, nor the people of Hikutavake. Honourable Sianiholo said he is disappointed in the matter, that the matter was not allowed to be discussed in the House, but it could be because members of the Assembly did not understand the connotation of the statement made. We asked if this borders on political interference. Honourable Sianiholo said that is wrong. The aspect of political interference will only be in reference if he was referring to the sentence rule against the accused. What his concerns are, says Sianiholo, is the statement made by the Chief Justice Savage that they, meaning the judges, have never seen anything as shameful, nasty and unchristian as the events that happened in Hikutavake. And to that extent it would appear he, meaning Laino Tahanga, is the sacrificial lamb for your sinfulness, meaning the Hikutavake community. Those words, says Honourable Sianiholo, should not have been expressed against the family nor the village, and that the Chief Justice Savage should only state on the facts, and that is to stipulate his sentencing of the accused rather than judge the community. Niue is in the process of determining its boundaries for the island's exclusive economic zone. Government is aware of the extensive economic opportunities that lie within the resources within the EEZ that spans across 200 nautical miles, or some 390,000 square kilometres. Premier Tokatalang was able to take the opportunity while attending the late Tongan King's funeral to meet with regional leaders to discuss common issues, forging good relations between nations, and look to formalise agreements.
It's important that we forge our good relations with our neighbours. And over the past few years, we've managed to do that with Tonga, Samoa, and the Cook Islands, and Nauru, and some of the other countries in the region. It's important for us to keep perspectives about what's happening in the region, and also to provide some support for those people. I also managed to hold discussions with the Deputy Prime Minister from the Cook Islands with respect to the EEZ boundaries that we have between Niue and the Cooks. And we're hoping to sign an agreement for those boundaries by August of this year. We're also hoping to do the same thing with Tonga, and we have had discussions with the Tongan government on that, so that we're able to finally establish our title to the whole of our, if you like, place on the earth, Niue, not just the small island that we live in, but also the sea, stretching 200 miles all around us within the boundaries of what has been established. And then we should be able to take those and lodge them in New York, so that we can have full claim on everything within those boundaries as Niue.
There are a number of economic opportunities for the island with the potential resources found within the EEZ, but there is a need for formal agreements between countries on the boundaries to ensure the island has legal claim to these resources. Premier Talangi says that the agreement with Tonga is in development and that the agreement with the Cook Islands will be signed at the next forum meeting in August. Niuean's Visitor Information Centre has rolled out a new service, now accepting credit card transactions in a bid to maximise on tourist spending on the island. The introduction of new services is based on visitor feedback that their spending ability on the island is limited due to businesses not accepting credit card payments. Senior Tourism Development Manager Hayden Porter says it has taken 2 years of exploring options and going through the legalities of setting up this service.
Our objective, when we first looked at this almost 2 years ago, that's how long it's taken to go through all the legal loopholes and international banking regulations and things like that, was to make it easy for visitors to spend money. And how we would do that was by offering a range of credit cards that they could use quickly and efficiently. And that is normal practice for people when they're travelling overseas. They expect to be able to pay by credit card for anything. On top of that, it's a usual expectation of a visitor that they can pay for their tours, etc., by credit card, and they usually do that through an information centre, such as the one we now have as well. So the timing was pretty good. So we can now accept Visa, MasterCard and American Express, and we've invited local businesses who would like to also be able to say that they could accept Visa, MasterCard and American Express to register with us, and we'll have a list of businesses that payment can be made down here at the centre, and the visitor gets a voucher which they then go and exchange back at the shop or for the tours. It's probably mostly aimed at the tours, etc. To be fair, but we can certainly expand it into the retail environment because it's a service that they can't currently offer, and realistically, it's unlikely that some of the local retail businesses could afford to run a credit card system, or B, go through the loopholes of the international banking laws and so on that we've had to go through in order to get it this far. So we want to be able to help them, and I have no doubt that we will see an increase in visitor spend as a result.
The process will enable tourists to pay for tours and services using credit cards at the Niue Tourism Office and is now operational.
It's an online payment gateway. It's not PayPal or anything like that. It's a system direct into a bank, and if you think of it like an online till, so you till at your shop, and it's basically we enter into the online till, but like you do through if you're purchasing stuff through a website as well, but it's straight into the bank, and we process the credit card through the bank. We spit out a receipt just like you would when you pay by credit card in New Zealand. They sign a receipt, and then that goes back to Treasury to come back to us to then reimburse the operator that has paid for the goods. The goods have been paid for on, etc. So it's internally it's relatively complicated, but for the user it's just as simple as handing the card over and making payment. For any businesses wanting to do the vouchers, it's also reasonably simple. They get a voucher that has been paid for. It's just like cash. They bring the voucher back in, and that gets processed, and they get paid after that. Now there are some small fees on the way through. It costs money to do these transactions. It's not free, but that's the cost of doing business, and we would hope that you see an increase in business as a result anyway. So there's a 5% fee on the way through, which is usually elsewhere you're looking at 10 to 15% as a general admin fee for such a service.
Businesses on the island can take advantage of these new services by accepting Niue Tourism's offer for their services and also accepting vouchers. Lady Gaga is by far one of the most influential people in the world, according to Forbes, with over 200 million followers on social networking sites such as Twitter, and Niue is set to go Gugu over Gaga, with Niue Tourism's latest marketing ploy going viral. A rather cheeky invitation has been extended to the high-profile celebrity to consider Niue as a potential destination for a concert, with the promise that the entire nation will attend her concert. This has intrigued the international media. Niue Tourism Senior Tourism Development Manager Hayden Porter explains the idea behind the invitation to get the most influential entertainer to the island.
Let's invite her over on the concept, on the brief, that she would be the first artist in history to potentially play to an entire nation, and we would therefore rally the nation to come to the concert, which would be free, of course, and it's usually about $150 a ticket elsewhere. And she would then have the kudos of saying that she's the only artist in history to ever play to an entire nation. So we thought it was a pretty good idea. We made a little bit of a joke of it, I guess, in the letter that we wrote to her promoters and to the record company and so on, in saying, we would provide 2 strong island men to carry her down our sea tracks because they're not very good for high heels. And then through our team we rallied up a few people for some photos, and they made some banners, and we've even had an underwater dive one done on a dive slate saying Lady Gaga on the slate, taken at 20 metres or something. So very cool. And we then sent it out with a bit of a press release saying how we'd love it to acknowledge it and so on. Well, it has gone completely gaga, completely viral. We have been contacted by every major newspaper in Australasia, essentially. TV, it's been translated into French, Dutch, Czech, Greek, Italian, you name it. It has gone absolutely viral. Our website traffic has gone up about 400% in the last week. So you could see this little line. It went flat, a couple of little dips, then it went woof in terms of website traffic. So people are logging on to find out what this place is all about.
Hayden says although he's not holding his breath, there is no harm in trying, because if you don't ask, you will never know. But the invitation remains as Niue goes Gaga over Lady Gaga, hoping for a response and also thankful for publicity boosting the island's profile. Lady Gaga has 3 shows in New Zealand in June as part of the Monster Ball tour. Niue Primary School was packed yesterday for the Early Childhood Education in Niue Primary School Annual Sports Day, as the most anticipated day of the students' preparations for a fierce competition. Many of the parents and caregivers made the most of the morning, cheering on the beginning of another marching competition. Students looked dashing as they sported brand new uniforms, partially funded by the Pacific Adaptation Climate Change Project, and also parents who contributed to a variety of the school's fundraising efforts. This year did not disappoint either, as Schoolhouse Colours maintained its competitive form. However, there could only be one winner. This year's 3rd place was shared equally by Hahave and Tupu with 197 points. Second and first place competition between Malo and Paeko was certainly very, very close, with a 2-point separation. At the end, though, Malo had to settle for second place with 207 points, whilst Paeko celebrated their win with 209 points. As the day progressed, the heat was on as children put in the extra yards in the sprint dashes, sack races, seka throwing, coconut bowling and relays. Parents' excitement could not be contained as they encouraged the young tykes to make it to the finishing line. At the end of the day, all the points were tallied up. The overall champions for this year's sports went to the team of Hahave, followed by Tufu, Paeko and Malo. Niue High School held a choir festival program today as part of cultural appreciation activities that are held annually. Normally, the school have a program for Culture Day all week, and the decision for this year was to challenge students to sing traditional and contemporary church songs. The theme reflected on the appreciation of the use of holy wear in songs. Local tutors were sourced to assist teams with the traditional style of singing church songs, with Kua first, followed by Langatali, Moya and Kiato. Students were also dressed formally. Their voices the only instruments needed, and many were present to enjoy the melodies and harmonies. The second part consisting of newly composed songs by teachers of Niue High School. The day came to a close just before midday, with the school extending an invitation to next year's program. And that concludes our news bulletin. We do hope that you can join us again next week, and we also wish all the students an enjoyable school break for the next 2 weeks.